It's interesting when you kind of betray the audience a bit. Now, I'll preface this by saying I am not a My Hero Academia fan. I have just been watching from afar. I started reading the manga a little bit when it first came out. I watched the anime, and I've been reading off and on for 10 years, I guess you could say now. And I was always under the impression that Midoriya was going to have some sort of impact on the world, right? As I think many people also thought. But here's something that kind of reconfirms some biases I have with writing stories, okay? The high school setting is a bad start. Why do I say that? Because the high school setting kind of makes you have to think of compelling stories for a large number of characters, sometimes over 20. And that is a Sisyphean task that I don't think any man can do properly to satiate the expectations of the audience. I just don't think it's possible. And that is why My Hero Academia kind of falls on its face a bit with the final chapter that came out recently. First of all, the cover of Jump is too wild for words. How is Luffy just pushing Midoriya out the way? That's crazy, dog. That's devious work. That might not have been the intention because it seems to be a 90s hip hop theme, but ooh wee, I don't know about it. It looks bad. It looks bad on the eye. It's very, very uncouth. But I don't understand how you could have this character go through all these trials and tribulations and save the world, yet have no impact on the world after the fact. Now, I could be ignorant about a lot of things because, mind you, I haven't been a dedicated fan. I haven't been reading week to week to week. But it's just kind of weird that he gets nothing. The world does not care. But every other character has some impact on the world, at least if you were in Deku's class. Because if you weren't, well, I guess nuts to you. Which is also quite wild. But the fact that this really has been all for nothing is kind of wild to me, especially seeing as how he doesn't talk to any of his classmates, these people of whom he's spent the entire story with. He hasn't talked to them for almost a decade. How aren't you married to Ochako? Because I just thought that's what's going to happen. Oh, mind you, Ochako is looking good as an adult. If Horikoshi can't do anything else, he can draw women well, because she's a baddie. But you don't invest in that. It kind of brings you back to the ending of Bleach. Say what you want about Bleach, but Ichigo was married and fulfilled at the end of the story. Same thing with Naruto. And what's funny about Naruto is that Horikoshi took a lot of beats from Naruto in My Hero Academia. Because you can't tell me like Stain is in Zabuza. It's the same beat of a character. But anyway, it's so interesting that even though Naruto kind of is on a wet fart because he becomes Hokage, but he doesn't really like it. I mean, that's funny, but he becomes Hokage. He is fulfilled. He is married. He goes on. But now, in the way this ends, Midoriya becomes a teacher. He doesn't participate as a hero up until All Might gives him the suit. And other characters are just off having adventures and having a good time, where he's again spending his life in the place that made him with no recognition for the rest of the world. That is just, it's weird. It's weird because he doesn't move anywhere. No one cares about him. He just does his duty and dissipates into the ether. And people have been comparing this to the ending of Gurren Lagann. But the thing about the ending of Gurren Lagann is that Simone chose to dissipate into the ether. He chose to step away. It wasn't forced upon him. He lost his wife at the end of the story. She dissipated into nothingness, and he just backed away. Same thing with the ending of Samurai Jack. His wife dissipated into nothingness, and he just simply backed away into peace. It's the choice of being a recluse, not like the world doesn't care, because the world cares. The world remembers what these heroes did, even though, like with Jack, time resets. But still, the showings of their works exists across the landscape of the narrative. With Midoriya, it doesn't seem that way. There are no statues of him. There's no proof that he was here. He's not anywhere. We're still praising All Might even now, which in a terrible, I guess, twist of fate, maybe that's for the best, because throughout the entirety of My Hero Academia, as far as I've known it, he never separated himself from All Might. Deku was never his own character. Everybody else was, especially like Bakugo. And it's weird that you don't think that's going to affect the narrative as a whole, but it ended up being the main point. Midoriya is not his own man. I mean, what else am I supposed to take from that? He's not, because even after all the DT's done, All Might is still the hero to look up to. All Might is still the legend. Because if this wasn't true, it would be a statue of Midoriya erected. People would be looking at Deku as someone to aspire to now, as other people look at various characters in the story as heroes to aspire to in their own fields. But no one's looking at Deku that way. A random kid recognizes him on the street, but that's, I guess, a shoulder shrug, if anything, if I'm being honest, because we still have the world looking at All Might, and that's made out to be a point. The world still looks at All Might as the de facto hero. There is no space for Midoriya. And that's just kind of sad, honestly, because it makes it feel as though this entire story was worth nothing. And I'm not being facetious when I say that. It's actually heartbreaking that in the end, nothing matters. Everyone else makes some sort of impact but him. And maybe it's my fault. Maybe because I'm a content creator for One Piece, I see things a little differently. But I can't help but to look at Luffy and think of where he is now and compare him to Deku. Because Luffy, we see him go from this country boy, this small, know-nothing lad in the weakest sea in his world, and now he's a political superpower. He's a worldwide celebrity. Everyone knows the name Monkey D. Luffy. He's one of the most powerful pirates on the seas right now. But Deku, he's just a teacher at the high school that he went to, which is, holy cow, that's depressing. Good Lord, wow. And this isn't important, but how do you not get Ochako at the end? Because adult Ochako is amazing. Oh my word. Wow. But again, that's neither here nor there. I'm just like, man, you don't get married, you don't have kids. I mean, Naruto had kids at the end of his story. Ichigo got married to his baddie at the end of his story. What is this? That's not important. That's not really an important point, mind you, but it's just weird that you become the sad gym teacher at the end of your narrative after saving the world. I don't know, bruh. That's weird. It's weird. And I apologize for being too harsh, but that's how it looks, and that's why we've ended how we've ended with My Hero Academia. But yeah, give me your thoughts.